This evening, and a huge welcome to you to what is another very important NEU Zoom on the current pay campaign. Sorry we've called this meeting at short notice, but we thought it was really important that you heard all of the facts. In a minute, you're going to hear from Neve and Kevin to talk us through all the facts of the offer and what it means for you and what it means for our sixth form colleges. But I do have a little bit of housekeeping to go through first. This meeting is being recorded and it is being streamed on all of our social medias. The behaviour statement has been posted in the chat as usual. We will have some time for questions and answers after Neve and Kevin have spoken. So as you've already been told, please do put those questions into the Q&A function. We will be looking at them all as we go through the call. We will pick the ones that are asked most frequently and try and group those together. We will be looking at all the questions afterwards and we will use them to update our frequently asked questions page on our microsite. So without further ado, I am going to hand over to Neve and Kevin to talk us through what the offer means for you in sixth form colleges. Who's starting us off this evening?
It's me,
Thank
Louise.
you, Kevin.
Thanks very much. And afternoon, colleagues. Apologies from Mary, she's somewhere else. We've got fantastic Neve here with us. Our deputy, and as you may know, fairly recent sixth form college teacher. So what Neve and I are going to do tonight is talk you through what the government has said about school teachers' pay and funding, and a bit on workload, but mainly on the implications for sixth form colleges. There is new money, and we're going to talk to you about where that money's come from. But before doing any of that, we just want to tell you that any improvements that have been made are as a result of the action of our members. It's been determination, tenacity and solidarity from our members that has moved the government. And we want to say that the unity in action of school and sixth form college teachers has boosted both struggles. Sixth form college teachers took action on their own back in November, and that was a huge boost to confidence of school teachers to vote for action. We didn't know before that we could pass the thresholds, and the action you took was really important. Since then, we've maintained unity with both groups taking action together, and that has been remarkable. And your efforts have been remarkable, as have your school teacher colleagues. Their refusal to accept the previous insulting offer of 4.3% was important. We know that at the time when we asked those school teachers to reject that many of you felt it was odd that you weren't also given an opportunity to reject it. But that is because your pay is determined in a different way by collective bargaining between the trades unions, ourselves and NASUWT, and the employers, the Sixth Form College Association. That meant that the offer, so there's a different way of determining pay. The offer from the DFE back in March only applied to school teachers. And so that's why we consulted them, just like we're currently consulting them about the 6.5, the STRB recommendation that the government accepted. Any offers, and there will be offers that come on sixth form college pay, we'll put those to you to decide on. We are really hopeful now that there will be progress on this in the near future, and we'll come back to that. But we know that Rishi Sunak would not have agreed the 6.5% recommendation from the STRB if he'd not been unnerved by the NEU members and their brave action, the possibility of joint action in the autumn. The pay award is not inflation proofed. And we're saying that very clear-sightedly, but it is 3% more than the government told the STRB was affordable in their evidence to the STRB in February. So we have moved them from 3.5% to 6.5%. And we've got extra money for schools and for sixth form colleges. And I know that as sixth form college members, you can feel left out at times. But I just want to assure you, and I've tried to do this before, that at every meeting with ministers or with advisors, every time we've talked about school teacher pay, we've always raised sixth form colleges and funding as well. We never forgot you in those discussions. when they approached us on the Wednesday of the strike week, that last Wednesday, the Prime Minister's Deputy Chief of Staff approached us that day for talks. I believe, having seen that our strike action was still strong in that meeting, we raised sixth form college funding. We said that, that there couldn't be a settlement of sixth form colleges without funding, without pay. You were never forgotten. And credit where it's due, the employer, the Sixth Form College Association, has also continued to work in parallel with our efforts to make sure that sixth forms were part of any potential settlement.
So I'm going to talk to you a bit about the funding. The offer for schools included 525 million extra for part of the year from this September to April, and then a further 900 million extra per year thereafter. There is also a further 40 million in a fund for schools in particular difficulties. And there's an additional 185 million in 23-24 and another 285 million in 24-25 for sixth form and FE colleges to cover improved pay for post-16 teachers. Now, we believe this sum is sufficient to ensure ongoing pay alignment for pay for sixth form teachers with that for teachers in schools. But there are two things for you to consider, or for us to consider, and it is about where does that money come from and is it enough? Now, it's the government's responsibility how it raises that money. They didn't negotiate that with us, but we did very much talk about where the money came from, and we asked searching questions about this, particularly because of some of the reports that we've seen in the press. You'll have seen that reports, firstly, that the funding has to come from departmental budgets, and secondly, that it was to come from increased fees in the NHS and for visas for migrants. However, we have been assured that the extra spending in education will not come from any part of frontline spending in schools or education, and does not come from the migrant fees at all. We've guarantees that the funding won't come from the capital spending on buildings and repairs for school buildings. It won't come from SEND funding or from early years. And Kevin and Mary and the others in the team have worked really hard to get those guarantees. Instead, lots of the money has come from underspends in the DFE. For example, there's a large multi-million-pound underspend on the National Tutoring Programme and the Apprenticeships Programme. Now, it's not good that the department hasn't spent all of the allocated money on those things, but those underspends are usually returned to the Treasury from every department. And because of your action, the Treasury has given the DFE the right to retain them. Not giving money back to the Treasury is almost logically the same as the Treasury giving new money to education. It is Tory spin to say that it's from the department to cover up the fact that they have to commit new money to education. And in practice, this is, for schools, this is new funding for schools and for colleges won by the actions of NEU members. It's extra funding for the period until the next comprehensive spending review, and then this money will be built into the base budget for the DFE. So it's money won forever by the action taken by you and your school teacher colleagues. In April, the government said that it would put an extra 150 billion into schools and would make no commitment whatsoever on post-16 sixth forms and FE colleges. Teacher action has turned that into an extra 900 million for schools, and your action has turned that into an additional 850 million in 23-24 and 285 million in 24-25. And when you add the extra money, it's well over £1 billion. And that comes, of course, on top of the £2 billion that we won for schools last October by the threat of restarting the schools funding campaign, making over 3 billion improvements since last September.
So Niamh's dealt with where the money came from, and we think that's actually new money, as Niamh said, from the Treasury for education in practice. The second question is it enough to make the pay rise affordable in sixth form colleges, a pay rise which at least matches the alignment with school teachers and keeps that alignment? So you might have seen there's been a press release from the Sixth Form College Association, and Bill Watkin, Chief Executive of SFCA, was responding to the news that the DfE had agreed to invest 470 million. He's put together the two amounts, the 185 million for this year, the 285 million ongoing to get that 470. But he said the SFCA is pleased the government has recognised the extraordinary skill, dedication and hard work of all teachers, whether in academies or colleges, and is committed to support the entire 16 to 19 sector with additional funding for a salary increase. This is the first time that colleges have benefited from an uplift alongside schools in this way, and it reflects the government's commitment to college teachers and lecturers and follows our protracted efforts to secure a better deal for the FE sector. Of course, this is a step in the right direction, but there is still need to address broader 16 to 19 funding, which is significantly lower than other phases of education. It's our hope we can enter a more settled period and we can focus on high quality learning. Now, if I would have liked him to say it's down to our action in that press release, but the essence of it is matters that the employers are saying this is money for school, for pay rises, and we say that this now means that the pay rise that at least maintains the alignment with school teachers is affordable. We don't say it sorts out any problem in college funding, just like Bill Watkin didn't there. Certainly not. And we are preparing to relaunch our education school funding campaign in the autumn and to explicitly extend it to colleges and to early years settings as well. But we are saying the extra 6.5% for our members is affordable in schools. And when negotiations resume with the SFCA on the back of the increased funding, we believe, and we think from that quote, SFCA agree that the continuing alignment of teacher pay in sixth forms in colleges and schools is affordable. When we say it's affordable, does that mean we think colleges are funded well enough? No, absolutely not. Colleges have been run down since 2010, but there is enough money to afford a pay rise which at least matches the pay rise in schools. But we like I said, we are going to relaunch the campaign on education cuts in the run-up to the election.
The offer to schools, of course, isn't just about pay and funding. It was also about workload and inspection. Your unresolved claim for 22-23, as well as your claim for the upcoming year, both included concerns around workload. And in any upcoming negotiations, this will remain high on our agenda. As a result of your school teacher colleagues' actions, the Prime Minister has signed off a target to reduce workload for teachers and leaders by 5 hours a week. Now, that absolutely isn't enough, but we want to hold him to that. And the government is going to establish a new workload reduction task force. The first meeting of that at GS level was yesterday, and there will be extremely strong involvement from the union. The task force will focus on securing workload reduction for teachers and leaders, and it will include reviewing the effectiveness of current measures and recommend further actions to reduce workload and working hours. So, for example, the government and unions are working to update the list of 21 administrative tasks that teachers don't have to do, and they're going to work on similar lists for leaders, which will be reinstated into the SPCD. Now, when I was a rep, they didn't always apply in sixth form colleges or FE colleges, but I always made sure that I was negotiating that they were, and we will be strongly doing that on your behalf. We want to ensure that any progress that we make on these issues are reflected in sixth form colleges wherever possible. We're also looking to see if we can make any improvements where possible in the Red Book. And I know many of you will probably have seen the press coverage about T-levels and applied generals today. Those qualifications all generate uncertainty and workload in the sector, and we would be putting additional pressure on the DfE to look at the funding arrangements for BTECs and applied generals, and to continue working with the Protect Student Choice Alliance.
Thanks, Niamh. You'll know that we are currently consulting our school teacher members and our school support staff members on whether they accept the offer from the government or not. We aren't consulting you because we don't yet have an offer that includes pay for you, but we expect to get one on the back of this money. We hope so. Otherwise we can carry on, but we're expecting to get one. The National Executive agreed to recommend to our school teacher members and our school support staff members that they accept the offer, because we think there has been significant movement. We think that they should bank it, but that is with our members. So they will accept it or reject it. If they reject it, we'd expect to be calling more strike action in the autumn. But our strong recommendation from Mary and I has been to accept, to bank the progress. We're worried that further action might not result in further gains. So that's where I appreciate there might well be questions about that. Happy to take them.
We want to finish where we started. We know that it's NEU members who have achieved this additional funding and the pay award. We've fought hard through our industrial action and our campaigning and through our evidenced arguments to make the case for a pay rise for teachers in schools and sixth form colleges. This is not the end. If school teachers accept this pay offer, then the NEU will continue to campaign on school funding, on pay, on inspection, on assessment, and on child poverty. Where our members are, so will we be. And what they care about, we care about.
So our members in schools have moved the government. You've helped them do that. The union is stronger than it's ever been before in terms of membership numbers and reps. And we're confident that you'll be able to move the SFCA to agreement with us. We expect to resume negotiations with SFCA shortly on the basis of this money. We'll make sure, we'll be seeking to at least match the progress for teachers with renewed confidence on the basis of this money. But just as we launched this campaign with you voting on a ballot for industrial action, we will only end the campaign with your approval. If we get new offers, we will put them to you, and that you will be given the chance to accept or reject. You have voted to renew the mandate. That mandate continues well into the next term, whilst we hope that we don't have to call action on it, because we hope that negotiations will resolve soon. We would have no hesitation in calling action if it was necessary to get the movement that we need. Now, so we think there is good news in this. We thank you for joining this call, possibly at the very end of your term, but I know that for many of you already broken up for the summer break. So we're going to take any questions you've got for us now, but we just want to say, hope you have a really well-deserved holiday, a well-deserved break. This will be my last time talking to NEU sixth form college members. I've always made it a thing to involve myself in sixth form matters. My children both went to City and Islington Sixth Form College, which I've said many times on City and England is picket lines in the past. I was really pleased to meet members in a number of sixth form colleges in the last term. So, you know, it's been really good working with you. The union will continue to have a sixth form college at the heart of its work, the heart of its concerns. Thanks very much for being an NEU member, and let's go to some questions.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Neve, and thank you, Kevin. We have had an awful lot of questions come in this evening, so I'm going to take them in groups of 4 if it's okay. Neve, I wonder if you want to take the first 2 and then Kevin answer the second 2 in this set, if that's okay. And we will get through as many as we can, but like I said earlier, those that are not asked tonight, we will be looking at, we will be updating our FAQs on our website as well. So in the first set, I've got question number 1. I think you've touched on this, but if you could possibly give us a little bit more detail. Why are we not being consulted on the new offer from the DFE when school teacher members are? And question number 2 is, what are the details of the offer to school teachers? And then question number 3, is it funded? And 4, Has there been more funding for post-16 pay in the recent negotiations, or has the sector been forgotten again? So I'll go over to you first, Niamh, if that's okay.
Thanks, Louise. So the offer for school teachers is 6.5%, and it's across all, so straight across all pay points, and also any additional responsibilities. You're not being consulted on that because you're not on that pay scale. That's not what you're being offered. What we have won, your strike action has won, is a commitment for more investment and funding into post-16, both sixth form colleges and FE colleges. AOC have said today that they welcome the new money for FE colleges. You have a different negotiating pattern, so we will reopen the negotiations, the collective bargaining with the employer. That's the Sixth Form College Association, and they have said that they're willing to get back around the table and look at that. Now, we are hoping that additional money, what we said today, that additional money will at least get you pay parity for with the school teacher offer. So I think I've covered both of those questions. Thanks, Louise.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Niamh. So it's over to Kevin for the question.
I think we did answer these questions in our original presentation, but the question, is it funded, and has there been more funding for post-16 in the recent negotiations, or has the sector been forgotten again? So there is £900 million funding for schools ongoing, and there's 285 million funding for FE and sixth form colleges ongoing. And we assess that is enough to afford the pay rises. We don't say that solves all the funding problems in schools. There are primary schools in large parts of the country facing pupil rolls falling. That will cause funding problems. But we were never going to solve every funding problem through this action. We believe that there is money there for the pay rises. And absolutely, I personally raised, and Mary, the question of sixth form college funding in every meeting that we had with them. And so it has come about from the last range of discussions. They told us about the 900 million. They said that they were coming back to us with the sixth form college funding. That's the 285. We assess that it's more or less the same. It's in the same proportion, and it does allow for that much, for at least that much on pay for sixth form colleges. Maintaining we have a strategic approach that we think that we want to maintain parity. Actually, we're slightly ahead of school teachers because there was a 1% pay rise that school teachers didn't get, but to maintain that strategic parity as a central aim of the union on sixth form colleges.
Thank you very much, Kevin. So next I've got a set of three, and I'll come to you first, Kevin, if that's okay on these ones. So question number one is, what does that mean for my pay? And then the second question in this set, you say there is additional funding for sixth form college teacher pay to keep pace with school teachers, but what does the Sixth Form College Association say? And then the final question in this set, have we settled the 2022-23 pay dispute? So I'll go to you first, Kevin, if that's okay. Okay,
so I mean, these are all very related questions, actually. So what it means for your pay, for pay of teachers in sixth form colleges, is that there is now new money available that the SFCA has, which will allow them to afford a pay rise. Now, the way your pay is determined is negotiations, collective bargaining between us and the Sixth Form College Association. So those negotiations have been stalled, essentially because the Sixth Form College Association hasn't had the money, and we've been pressing. We used your ballot to press the government. Our dispute was with the government about the level of funding. So now we're in a place where we can reopen negotiations with the Sixth Form College Association. We expect them to reopen quickly. We expect them, our current expectation is that they will go well, given that this money is there. And then the second question was that we'd said there was enough money. What has the SFCA said? I read a quote from Bill Watkin where we think that quote interpreted is this money is for pay and it's enough to settle disputes. So that's what we think that they are saying, and we're confident that that is what they are saying. And shall I do the other one now? Or, so the next question is, have we settled the 2022-2023 pay dispute? And we haven't settled it. We have been talking with the Sixth Form College Association, and most of you, and I'm sure it's not all, have had a 5% interim pay award. We haven't wanted to undermine collective bargaining, so we haven't yet agreed that. So we'll have negotiations which will be about both the 2023 award, 2022-23 award, and the 23-24 award. And we expect negotiations on both of those to begin soon. And any offers arising from them will be brought to you.
Thanks, Kevin. Niamh, did you want to add anything to those? Should we go on to the next set of questions then? Okay. Sorry, just give me 1 second. So we've got a question around the teachers' pay claim for 23-24. It's talking about there's been no formal response, but it's asking about, have negotiations begun over our call for a fully funded significant increase in teachers' pay for that year? And then next question is, will we have to strike again? And then we've got a question on what about support staff? So 3 questions in that section there, if that's okay. Niamh, do you want to start first?
Yeah, so there hasn't been a formal response from the employers, so that's the Sixth Form College Association, for the 23-24 claim. But in light of the 22-23 issue not being settled, it's understandable, and we've not taken this as a negative sign. We've got a good working relationship with the Sixth Form College Association. So we expect the negotiations to open up with them again fairly soon. And you may remember, ahead of our strike action, the director of HR at the SFCA said that college leaders fully supported the NEU calls for significant increase in teacher pay. So, we aren't expecting there to be a negative response from them. The bit of, will we have to strike again? I hope not, but we've got that mandate. And should there be a turn in that relationship, or the money not be forthcoming from the government, then we've got that. And we know that with your organisation and your power and your collectivism, that we can win this. We won 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, with Sixth Form College Pay. We're a well-organised group, but we've got a good acknowledgement from the SFCA that this is enough money to cover pay. They will need to then get back around the table with us so that we can bargain with that. Kevin, do you want to take the support staff one?
Yeah, happy to take the support staff one. The pay determination for support staff is similar. It's by collective bargaining with the Sixth Form College Association. But the one place where it's different is that we currently do not have recognition for support staff. Unison is the only union with recognition for support staff in the Sixth Form colleges. And so far, they haven't put a claim forward for, so they accepted the offer for support staff pay for last year. They haven't yet put their claim forward for this year. So because they've got that recognition, we'll follow through supportively once we see what they're putting forward, and support them as much as we can in those negotiations. This money will also help those discussions.
Thank you very much, both. I am just waiting for my next questions to come through. Okay, so we've got a question here from Pippa Doswell. Please, could you explain how this workload reduction is going to work without more funding for support staff? And Pippa says, our workloads have increased because we don't have a strong enough admin team to do all the jobs needed. And we don't have enough support for students experience difficulties either with work or with their mental health. And then we have got a question in from Amanda Kumara, which is, hi, could you run through the figures again? Sorry. Amanda says she heard 885 million for sixth form colleges. and she just wants some clarification. Is that for 23-24, and then 285 million for 24 and 25? Thank you very much. Who wants to start on these two?
So the figures.
Do you want to cover the figures, and then I'll go to Neve on workload? That's probably most sensible. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. So for both schools and sixth form colleges, there is a figure for the part of the financial year that runs from September to April. And then there's a figure for what that means for a full year afterwards. And for sixth form colleges, it's £185 million for sixth form colleges and FE colleges from September this year to April next year. And that the 12 months equivalent of that is £285 million. So the annual increase is £285 million. The part year of that is 185. I hope that's clear. Yeah. Am I saying something about work? No, Neve said something.
Yeah. So workload. Well, we haven't got into the negotiations yet about workload, but we do know from the last negotiations that we had about school teachers that we were focusing on the reduction of tasks that don't need to be carried out by a qualified teacher, looking at accountability and inspection, and a reduction of working hours. So we would be expecting for those to carry over to post-16. Will they solve all of the problems of workload? Absolutely not. And you're right about the funding for support staff. So I know in the college that I used to work at, the increase in the number of support needed for students with additional needs and with EHCPs has absolutely rocketed in the last couple of years. And there's no way that the college can employ enough people to provide the services that children and young people need. That's where our funding campaign continues. We continue to campaign to say that there is not enough money in education. There's not enough money in post-16 education in particular, and there isn't enough money in special educational need and disability education. And as Kevin said earlier, we will relaunch that school cuts campaign, including early years and post-16 colleges, in the run-up to the general election. And we will keep fighting for investment in education, not just for teachers and support staff pay, but for children and young people too.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, both of you. So
can I just give one example of workload that just because it really irritates me, and I hope that this doesn't happen in sixth form colleges, but primary teachers who teach practical maths lessons are told by all too many head teachers that they have to take photographs of the practical maths, then at the end of the day, print out the photographs and stick them in the children's books. And they have to do this not for any educational purpose, but to prove to Ofsted that practical maths happened. Or secondary teachers, and I hope this doesn't happen in sixth form colleges, but so many sixth form college teachers, so many secondary school teachers have a stamp that says verbal feedback given. And after they talk to a student, they stamp in the child's book that they have given verbal feedback. And that's not even proof, but it's only there to prove to Ofsted. And so I think Pippa's absolute, I mean, we would love to resolve workload by having enough money to reduce class sizes and increase non-contact time, and the economic causes of workload are enormous. But some of the workload is caused by crazy levels of accountability and having to generate evidence and data just to prove that you're doing your job. And if we can get the government to back off on that, then that would be a help. And so we want to use this to try and get them to back off on that part of it.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Yes, I personally work in a primary school, and I have vast experience of having to write verbal feedback or stamp it in books. It's highly frustrating and a complete waste of time. Okay, so I've got another two questions. One is from an anonymous attendee on the call, and this question is, does this cover Academy Trust sixth forms as well? As part of post-16 were excluded from mainstream additional grant already, so already behind on funding. And then we've got a question from Neil Griffiths. Will FE colleges still be balloted for action in September? And Neil is asking, what is UCU's position and the AOC? Niamh, do you want to take either of those first?
Yeah, I'll take the last one. I've just been reading the press release from the AOC saying it welcomes the money and hopes to open negotiations again soon. We know that there is an issue about the money for post-16 FE colleges specifically have large amounts of adult education. So that is something that we still need to talk about. You see, we should be balloting those sixth form FE colleges where pay isn't being awarded, and we've been doing that alongside UCU this term already. So some colleges will be balloted in September as planned.
Thanks, Niamh. Do you want to take the other one, Kevin?
Yes, and I've just got myself confused. Just remind me.
So does this cover academy trusts?
Oh, yeah.
Forms as well.
I am not absolutely certain of the answer to that. I believe that the funding, because of the change of status to I mean, there's the same level of funding for sixth forms in schools as for sixth form colleges. And it's not part of the mainstream additional grant, which is part of the question here. It's in a separate grant. But I don't know precisely whether it's coming through the academy funding or through this funding, but it's the same level of funding, I think, is the key point of it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, both. So we've gone through our questions now, and as I said, anything that hasn't been asked on the call, we will certainly be looking at including in our FAQs going forward. And I know there are some of our tech team behind the scenes are picking up on people that maybe need to be contacted individually for some individual issues. We will be doing that over the next couple of days. But I just wondered, just before we wrap up, I'll go to Kevin first if you want to say a few words, just a final message, and then over to Niamh. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, we don't quite know where we'll get to on this. We're out for consultation with our school teacher members and our school support staff members. The consultations on the offer end on July the 28th. We also close our ballot. Now, I think what's going to happen is that our teacher members are going to accept the offer, and they are also going to pass the threshold on the reballot. I believe that our support staff members in schools will accept the offer. We're closing their formal ballot a bit later, at the 11th of August. If members accept, we won't take action on those ballots. And so this is a bit confusing, but I think it'll be a really good thing if, as well as accepting, we show the government that we could pass the threshold, that we did it again, because that shows the strength of the union. We are by far the biggest union in terms of a ballot group size to ever manage to pass the threshold. So if we've done it twice in sixth form colleges, if we do it twice in schools, if we can do it with the support staff as well, that'll be an enormous message to government to take us more seriously in the future. But we intend to carry, even if our members accept, if we reject, we'll call more action. If the members accept, though, which is what I think is likely, then we are committed to carrying on campaigning in all sorts of ways through the School Cuts website, through many other, and the possibility of industrial action in the future is not off the table. Obviously, in next year's pay round, we'll be campaigning. The union will be campaigning for better funding for education, for better pay for people who work in our schools. I'm not going to be involved in the union, but I'll be cheering on every move you make from the sidelines and wishing you every success to do that in the future. The sixth form college section is so well organized, and I have taken so much inspiration and used inspiration from your rep network on the Google group to take into the rest of the union. You are a shining example to the rest of the trades union about organized grassroots members taking the struggle forward. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Kevin. Niamh?
I just want to say have a good summer, everybody. every year in post 16 is a tough year, particularly, you know, you only have those students for 2 years, you give them everything, and it's been a huge honour to stand with you on the picket line. But I do want to pay tribute to Kevin and Mary, because when I was a teacher in post 16, I knew that the union was always with me and behind me, and you were always on our picket lines and on our rallies, Kevin. So we did really appreciate, I really appreciated that. So thank you very much for everything that you've done for the sector as well.
Thank you very much, both. And so I'm just going to finish by thanking Sam Riddle and Nikki Evans, our British Sign Language interpreters on the call.
Thank you, Sam.
Huge thank you to Niamh and Kevin for all of their time and information this evening. I also want to thank the tech team, who, as ever, do a fabulous job behind the scenes, keeping everything going, keeping the questions coming through to me. And most importantly, I will echo what Niamh says, please do have a lovely summer. And I want to thank you for everything that you do to educate our children and young people. Kevin mentioned his daughter before. My son was educated in a FE college, and it absolutely changed his life. So I've got personal experience. I know how important the work that you do is. Thank you for being part of our fabulous, huge union. We absolutely are stronger together. We are the National Education Union. Take care. Good night.